Thanks for joining. We're going to have 2 hours of OSINT fun. I do probably think I should probably say my wannabe catchphrase of let's do some OSINT peppermint. Nope, that pelican's not the one with the sticker on it. Darn. Anyway, we're going to have some fun. I'm going to try my best to prepare you for some stuff within OSINT. And then also, if you decide to compete in the TraceLabs event tomorrow, a lot of the stuff that I will show you will assist TraceLabs, assist the judges, and the missing people as well. So true OSINT for good. I can come back to this slide if we need to, but to get started, about me, I'm the founder instructor at the OSINTion. I used to navigate submarines. I know it sounds like I'm joking, but I'm really not. You know, I will say that submarine racing is a spectator sport. I've seen some high-powered submarine races in my day. I've written for a variety of places, including NoStarch Press. I'll be selling this book tomorrow during a signing. So if you're interested, I will have copies. I think the signing is tomorrow at noon. I don't know the exact location, but I assume it'll be around the vendor area. So stay tuned for details on that. So here's my competitive track record. I'm the 2017 DerbyCon Social Engineering Capture the Flag winner. I've been on the winning team for 3 TraceLabs competitions during DEFCON, starting at DEFCON 27 with the Password Inspection Agency, and then the Federal Bureau of OH-SHINT, and then the Eff Ess Bees. Before the Eff Ess Bees, we had a different team that was the KGBs, spelled CAGEYBEES. But all the members of the KGBs were not available for DEFCON 30, so we had to move on. And, well, what happened to the KGB? They became the FSB, right? So, standard disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, but I did stay in a Holiday Inn last night. Either way, the thoughts and opinions in this are mine alone, not my employers, past, present, or future. I am going to give you a content warning. The content warning is basically pretty cut and dry. With the stuff we're going to look at, we're looking at finding people. These are people. It is aligned to a TraceLabs competition. Loosely, I'll speak both to the event and if you're just doing it otherwise. But some of the anecdotes and experiences I'm going to share with you do involve missing people. I'm not going to purposely show you anything gory, explicit, pornographic, etc. Just know that when you go investigating people, you can run into some things you don't want to see. Just being honest. Because at times, depending on the person, you could be thousands of miles away, but you could still be staring into their soul, and you can see things dealing with trauma, dealing with being trafficked, and things like that. So be aware of that. Through looking for people in a live setting, such as in a class, which there is an actual missing person in the handout that I gave you the link to, there is a possibility we can come across that kind of stuff. I don't think we will, but I'm just being upfront and honest. And with that, I'm going to drop a reality check as well. You know, I use the term subjects when I'm talking about people. I know some people use targets. I don't like using the word target. It makes me feel kind of slimy. TraceLabs also uses the word subject, so it's easier just to use their verbiage. For businesses, I'm totally cool with using the term target. But, you know, at the end of the day, businesses, they don't have feelings, they don't have families, and they can't be physically harmed, right? So if you're reckless in these types of investigations, it can lead to identity theft, it can lead to digital harm, and it can also have physical harm leading up to death. Just being upfront. That's the reality check. The person we're looking for, I have no reason to believe that any of this is in play, but be respectful of the people you investigate. So let's start this off with the definition. So here is the layperson OSINT definition. There are a lot of definitions out there. You can go read the Wikipedia definition. You can go and search and find the CIA definition, and they are all equally correct. But to spell it out, Basically, it is, the definition of OSINT is information that we gather from publicly available sources that we use in an intelligence context. What is the intelligence context? Well, we have to understand data versus information versus intelligence. Data is a raw, inarguable fact, right? An anecdote that I like to use is Jane Doe went missing from Denver, Colorado on February 28th, 2015. Okay? The weather in Seattle on February 28th, 2015, on average was 46 degrees. If anyone wants to look that up, I dare you to argue with me because it's accurate. It is a data point, right? It does not help us in our investigation, right? It's one of those things that I would probably respond with, yes, and I have a goldfish. Why are you telling me this? Oh, I thought we were talking about things that didn't matter. Okay, information. The average temperature, or the temperatures in Denver, Colorado on that day ranged between 3 and 21 degrees Fahrenheit. That seeks to answer a question. The question being, what was the weather in Denver that day, right? All right, now let's enrich this a little bit further. The weather on that day in Denver, Colorado was between 3 and 21 degrees Fahrenheit, which is considerably lower than the historic averages of 18 to 49 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, does it make sense why that would be considered intelligence more so than everything else? It can speak to what someone's wearing. It can speak to travel conditions. It can speak to snow and other things that could be relevant. We also have to ask ourselves, is this legal and is this ethical? Generally speaking, OSINT is mostly legal. If you work for a federal agency, if you are in law enforcement, if you are surveilling people in the European Union, Brazil, California, Virginia, and a few other places, it gets a little tricky. But again, even though I did stay in a Holiday Inn last night, I am not a lawyer. I am not a licensed private investigator for a reason. The reason being, I would be subjected to more restrictive laws in my state if I were a licensed private investigator. Being a private citizen, I'm not subjected to any laws. The only thing that cuts down on is my ability to do expert witness stuff, which there are other ways around that. But yeah. Also, the big question, how does this further my investigation? Say you were investigating something that occurred in Rapid City, South Dakota. Do you really need to know what someone was doing in Orlando, Florida 2 weeks ago? Probably not. If that same person is in Rapid City now, yes. If there are discernible ties between the person in Rapid City and a person in Orlando, yes. But just because you can collect it doesn't mean that you need to. Is it within scope and why do I care? Those are important questions as well. So when we talk about people OSINT, what are we trying to do? There are positive and negative use cases for everything we do. Positive use cases. We use this to pivot to or from a business or an organization. Oh, darn, I've got that under positive and negative. Anyone care to elaborate there? Who here is pen testers? What color team are you on? Blue. Not a single one of you is on a red team. You know why? You submit a report and that assists with enhancing the security of an organization. So the sooner you get past that us versus them, the better. Not saying you personally, but InfoSec Twitter, we'll put it there. That's where all the controversial kids are these days, right? Jonathan Data 1 still there? I got him blocked. I don't know. Every now and then I'll go look just to see what the dumpster fire is. Like if the weather gets too cold and I've not turned the heat on yet, I'll go and look at the page just to see the dumpster fire and warm up a little bit. All right, so we can use this in the investigative process. This could be for a criminal investigation, a civil investigation, even a fraud investigation. It's very heavily used within insurance. Some of the most devastatingly powerful OSINT practitioners I have encountered are certified forensic accountants and insurance adjusters. Because, you know, you might have fallen on a banana peel and broke your arm at work, but, you know, if there's any inkling of fraud, that insurance adjuster is going to find out when you're on that ladder in your backyard painting your roof. They're going to get you. But yeah, you've got that perspective. And finding missing people, that's both positive and negative. Any ideas why there? Because at the end of the day, like when you go digging into someone, like in a TraceLabs competition or just otherwise, you can find out a lot of things that happened. You can find out why, you may understand why they are missing, but in that scope, it's not your job to decide why. You are trying to find the intel. And some people are willingly missing, some people are not. Some people want to be found, some people don't. Some people can, some people cannot. So you've got that whole complexity there, but you know, sometimes you might find a missing person that was missing for a reason. Like the probability of finding somebody in the witness protection program is pretty low, but finding someone that's missing because they don't want to be found because, let's face it, their family was terrible to them, you might reignite a lot of trauma by reuniting them. But you know, that's an occupational hazard. Of course, stalking, doxing, espionage. You know, one of my current favorite songs is by the band Ministry, and it's called Disinformation, and it's literally fake news, right? There's a lot of OSINT used for that as well. Here's an example of probably how you don't want to do OSINT. Anybody in here guilty of this? I mean, you laugh. You really do. But I'm not saying that OSINT investigators don't know that kind of stuff. It takes a certain level of maturity and restraint to withhold from admitting it. That's what it boils down to. That's the difference between having the intelligence and being creepy. And it is a very fine line to walk. So, TraceLabs. I'm going to zoom through the categories because we're almost an hour in and I don't want to spend a lot of your time just telling you how the competition works. I'm just going to zoom through some categories. I'm going to highlight some key points on certain ones. Starting with friends. Well, if you want to get this information, you can go to TraceLabs website, go under the search party. You can find the contestant guide there. I highly recommend before competing, read it. If you go investigating people for whatever reason, whether it be competition, work, nosiness, whatever, as long as it's legal. If it's illegal, you know, don't follow this guide. Do it your own way and get caught, please. But anyway, I highly encourage you to use this because these categories, whenever I work with like private investigators or law firms to find information about people, I apply this same exact framework. This is the way I use these categories because it helps you with basically a mind map. And in the handouts that I gave you via the zip file, there's a file called blank.mm. You can use that on a website called Coggle, COGGLE.IT. You drag and drop it there, and all the categories are pre-populated for you. All you've got to do is start filling in the blanks. Also, there's missing person templates. It's a zip file. That is an Obsidian notebook that already have the categories populated for you, and all you have to do is fill in the blanks. So feel free to copy, reuse, plagiarize, pass it on. So the first category is friends. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. It's a 10-point category. If you stroll up on someone's Facebook and it says they have 3,000 friends, don't start licking your chops. You're not going to get 30,000 points out of that. We only care about the friends that you frequently interact with, the people who like, comment, share, check in with. If someone is missing and they are sharing, hey, my friend is missing, I don't care. They shared it. That's good enough to be a friend for me. I'll give you 10 points. That's what you're looking for there. But you're going to see a recurring theme here of name, alias, birth date, address, phone number. This is universal for what we are looking for, whether it be friends, family, or the person themselves. We'll see these specific data points again. Employment, same thing. Here's a gotcha there. Say someone works for Walmart, right? Stores have their own Facebook pages now, right? If you go on Facebook and you search for, like, say, Walmart 8675309, you are going to find a Walmart store. Probably not that store, but a store. And in doing so, it's a unique environment because when you talk about corporate Walmart, they have people who work in PR. It's their whole job. They're trained. They know how to keep quiet about things. They know how to express things in a professional sense. People doing it at the store level, that's a collateral duty. I don't think someone that used to have to run the trash compactor that just happened to get promoted is going to do more than about an hour training before they give them access to the Facebook page. They're going to post things that normally would not pass the PR sniff test. Check those things out. And then also you can double down on address and phone number because, say, Walmart, for example, you can put 702 Southwest 8th Street, Bentonville, Arkansas. Not that I have their home office address memorized or anything. And you could say 479-352-8000. Not that I have that memorized either. I've done this demo a time or two. Just a few times. You could do that, but then if you also have 555-867-5309, double points. So there's your employment stuff. Also look for the manager. You might be able to see some stuff on manager's social medias, but largely no. The probability, unless someone's working for like a mom and pop place, you're not going to find a whole lot of intelligence about a missing person or a person in general off the social media, unless the social media is ran by them or they are a key employee in the organization. Family, same thing. Here's the thing with family. I don't care about your father's brother's cousin's former roommate. I care about your parents, grandparents, children or grandchildren, sibling, spouse, in-laws, first cousins, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew. That's about it. Like, oh, fun fact here. Did anyone in here know that Tom Hanks is legitimately related to Mr. Rogers? No? You did? You fell down the Wikipedia rabbit hole too? They're sixth cousins. If Mr. Rogers went missing, do not submit Tom Hanks. Actually, you probably should because Tom Hanks played him in a movie, so that means that there's some similarity there. But, yeah. But either way, that's an example thereof. If you're into OSINT, also might I recommend you just stay off Wikipedia in general. Stay off of Wikipedia, stay off of Bellingcat. I block both of those at home via my Pi-hole, not because of anything malicious. If I catch myself on either page, my productivity's gone for the day. It's like, I go reading about Mr. Rogers, and then I find out that the creator of Blue's Clues studied under Mr. Rogers and then created Daniel the Tiger. And then I start reading about tigers, and then I learn that tiger in Russian is tigre, and then I get on Duolingo, and then I come back, and I'm like, what's going on in Israel? And then I start reading about like the differences between Arabic and Hebrew, and it's like, oh crap, I had a meeting 20 minutes ago. Not that that really happened at all. Basic subject info. This is everything about the person themselves. So it's everything we've talked about before, but we also mentioned right here, personal dating adult site profiles. So that's going to include things like Tinder, Bumble, OkCupid, all those things. Feet Finder, FetLife, OnlyFans, all the OnlyFans type sites. That will include Pornhub, xHamster, all that stuff. So you probably don't want to do this off a corporate network. If you're competing, I would not go looking on a corporate network. Just saying. Craigslist and Kijiji, same thing. Reddit, that also would include 2chan, 4chan, 8kun. Supposedly there's a 16 and a 32 chan or kun coming. I don't know. That deals with Japanese honorific titles. If this were an 8-hour class, I would explain it, but I don't want to bore you with Japanese honorifics when we're looking for missing people here. Advanced subject info. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is 100 points. The last time my team competed, our final score, I believe, was like about 4,000. It was either 4,000 or 7,000 because we competed in an era that had way higher point values, and then the point values kind of corrected a little bit. So we did the math on it, and our average submission as a team was somewhere between advanced subject info and day last seen, which is the next category. But unique identifiers, tattoos, scars, piercings, of course. What else can you think of that would fall under this category? Birthmark, yes. What else? Posture and gait, yeah. There was somebody in Philadelphia that got caught throwing Molotov cocktails into cop cars because of a tattoo and because of her gait. When she walked, she looked like she was slam dancing. Yeah, some people dye their hair more often than some people change underwear, unfortunately. I mean, I've been to DEFCON. My nose is still recovering. My first year at DEFCON, there was a guy, he was probably like 6'5", 6'6". He was walking around like this the whole time. Like, he was not wearing deodorant, and he was ripe. My buddy, we'll just call him the Bird, and me got in the elevator with him, and my buddy's like, hey man, I don't know if you know this, but they don't charge you anything extra to use the shower in your hotel room. And it was that day I decided that if I ever make it big and I have a vendor booth at a con and I hand out swag, I am partnering with Mitchum because it's so good you can skip a day. That's what we're doing. I've not hit it that big yet. Anyway, I wish I could say body odor would be on there, but if you're close enough to smell the person, you probably have the location flag, which is 5,000 points. Contact lenses. Who here wears contact lenses? Okay. Who here listened to like new metal in like the mid 90s? Like Marilyn Manson type stuff. Like, do you remember all of the folklore about him and all of that? The reason he had the white eyes because he burned it on stage or something. It's a contact lens. I had the same color contact lenses. But yeah, contact lenses that change your eye color. That would fall under that category as well. Another thing that would fall under there, distinct jewelry, such as like a rosary or a sentimental, we'll say necklace or bracelet or something that they have worn repeatedly in photos that you can discern. That would be an example. Medical conditions. That's pretty self-explanatory. Habits, smoking, drinking, hangouts. What else would fall under this? Yoga? Yeah, that could actually go even bigger. But yeah. What else? Regular hobbies, yep. What else? Just say it. Are they wearing red shoelaces? Is that what you're getting at? I was unaware of this, but someone wearing boots with red shoelaces is indicative of being a neo-Nazi. So, membership of things like biker gangs, the Klan, Proud Boys, that kind of stuff. If they subscribe to the opposite side of the aisle, right? If they are part of the Communist Party of the United States, and such a thing does exist. Something to that effect. That would count. Do they subscribe to any particular subculture? Are they a punk? Do they subscribe to like the industrial music subculture? Going back to some of the websites we talked about before, I mean, are they into the whole fetish and BDSM thing? Are they a swinger? Are they part of a BDSM club? I remember when I was stationed in Connecticut in the early 2000s, there was a club in Rhode Island that I could never go to because I was not 21, but apparently Wednesday nights was fetish night and I never got to go. And I always heard the stories of like the weird things people would come in wearing. If you know they live in Providence, Rhode Island, and they are into like fetish and that kind of stuff, check out Club Hell. I don't know if it's still around, but it used to be. Have they went missing before? Brand, make, model, and carrier of cell phone. How can we find this information out? What's that? You're not incorrect, but in these types of investigations, May the odds be ever in your favor. Because most platforms scrub it. Flickr does not. MySpace universally does not. And with, admittedly, I have not checked truth.social, and I have not checked Mike Lindell's super secure website called Frank. Don't worry, though. I do have an account there. That's one way. What's another way? I thought I heard it. Selfies. Yes. What else? Come on. Presidents are temporary. These are forever. What am I talking about? No. Actually, Twitter used to have the source tag that would say Twitter for iOS. They've taken them away, but yeah. All right. One of my favorite memes, it's Spider-Man, and he's got a camera, and he goes like this, and it says, neat. What is that indicative of? Screenshots. If someone takes a screenshot of an interaction, you can possibly see the carrier along the top, and you can look at the icons and determine if it's Apple or Android. And if it's Apple, well, you already know the brand and the model. It's an Apple iPhone. With Android, it's going to get a little bit trickier. So that's something else that you could look at. You can also look at iMessage versus SMS. Although there are non-Apple methods for iMessage now. Make, model, vehicle, license plate, yeah. If you can find their obituary or proof that they are unalived, yeah, that too. Video game handles. Why do we treat those differently than social media handles? Gaming is more of a lifestyle. To the point of they're escaping reality. They are not trying to portray themselves as like Joe Gray, the OSINT guy. I'm Joe Gray, the most lethalest sniper on Call of Duty, whatever, right? It's been forever. Like the last Call of Duty game I played was World at War, if that tells you anything. I don't video game, but that's indicative of it. And oftentimes it will also tell you platform, and it can also tell you when someone was active. Not every social media platform will say this person has been inactive for 8 months. You've got what I call the Facebook porch light, which is if you're friends with someone, you can go into Messenger and see if it says they're online. And if not, it says, oh, they were online 8 hours ago. Oh, well, they should be waking up here in a minute. Nah, I'm going to call them. Let's wake them up. Wakey, wakey. So, yeah. And then passwords fall under this as well. Whether it's clear text or hashed, whether it's from the ClearNet or Onion sites, it's here. Day last seen. If you can find anything for CCTV, I've only got credit for this one time, and that's because the subject's sister shared CCTV footage. Details of their physical appearance. What were they wearing? Had they recently dyed their hair? Something to that effect. Their state of mind. Were they having a psychotic break? Were they off their medications? Had they just had an argument with their significant other? Significant weather events. Who were they last seen with? Especially in like little podunk towns like where I live, there's always somebody who's got like a nickname like Tiny. And Tiny is almost never small in stature. They're usually like 6'7", 6'8", or an amateur sumo wrestler. Authorities may know that a missing person had a friend named Tiny. They may know about Tiny in Anytown, USA. They may not know about Tiny in other city, USA, 5 cities over. That could be important. Were they going to meet someone? Were they going to sell a TV off Facebook Marketplace? Anything else related to that date? Advancing the timeline. This is stuff that doesn't meet the other categories, but it's strong. The best examples of advancing the timeline would be if the subject likes a Facebook page that was created after they went missing. I've seen that happen a few times. have they posted after they went missing? There was a missing person that was missing from Texas, I believe. And during the 2-hour exercise in a class, we were actually looking for this person. They were on Facebook Live. I was like, why could this have not happened to me during competition? This is 5,000 points. Except it wasn't them. Somebody had found their phone under an underpass and was using it to taunt the subject's parents. But that would have hit advancing the timeline, because this drunk dude in Birmingham, Alabama, with an out-of-tune guitar trying to play Freebird. I wish I was kidding. I'm tone deaf and it was bad. Like, I even thought it was bad. It was that kind of bad. Like, I probably couldn't have played it any worse myself. Based on that lead, though, they were able to discern that the person was in custody. So they were found safe. So positive outcome there. But if you have any evidence of someone being somewhere between the date they went missing and right now, that's more than, say, 3 days to a week in the past, that counts for advancing the timeline. And then, you know, sometimes the judges, you might submit something and say, this is just basic subject info. And the judge, because most of the judges have done this before, will be like, no, this is not basic subject info. Congrats, my friend, you just got 600 extra points. So judges can change your point values. In competition, you've got dark web. I'm not covering it in this. I don't cover it in the 8-hour course. There's too much liability with it. There's too many ways for it to go sideways. I can't ensure that you have the appropriate mitigations in place, and I don't want to be responsible or liable for any bad things that could happen. That being said, the dark web is not, like, it's a cesspool, don't get me wrong, but it's not the big boogeyman that a lot of people think it is. Trivia question. In all the investigations I've done, how many times do you think I've actually found meaningful stuff on the dark web? Yep, just one. And the only reason it was meaningful is because it involved some appointed bureaucrats / politicians. Well, I'll stay vague. And it was going to litigation, and the client was like, leave no stone uncovered. And I was like, you sure? And they're like, one of these people is a judge. You probably want to check the dark web. Duly noted, because this was a few $100s per hour, and they're like, money is no object. Say no more, fam. Twist my arm. I'm going to get one of those big old VPS instances on DigitalOcean. I'm not messing with one of those $5 ones on this one. This one's going to cost at least $32. But yeah. But with it, if you can find any evidence of trafficking, of them selling anything, whether it be drugs themselves or PlayStations or scratched off Steam gift cards, any evidence of that, it's 1,000 points. Yeah, you can find passwords there, but they still count as advanced subject info. And they must include the onion URL. Location, basically, you have about, in some cases, it could be a 3-day window. In some cases, it could be up to a week. Realistically, I like to say probably between 3 days and this very moment. You get it, it's 5,000 points. I'll ask Belouv later, but the last time I asked for this stat was probably 1.5 years ago. Through the years that TraceLabs had been running the competition, I think they had fewer than 5 accepted submissions for this. A lot of teams get in, they're like, we're looking for location, location, location. Here's the thing. The flags in this competition are not predetermined. Not every person is going to have every flag. In fact, most people are not going to have this one. If you want my honest advice, don't even worry with this flag. If you come across something and you think you might be able to shoot the moon on it, go ahead. Dislocate that shoulder with that reach. I do it. I did it all the time. I was infamous. I mean, I would argue with judges. And I encourage you to as well. If you do decide to compete, immediately make contact with your judge so that your judge knows, hey, if I have a question about this team, ask this person. Because sometimes it may just be you need to explain something a little bit better in your submission. That's really all it boils down to. But sometimes judges do get things wrong, and sometimes I'm right. I mean, most of the time. I mean, I did help author the judge and contestant guide, so I mean, there was that. But, you know, disagreements happen, but sometimes you do have to escalate it. And when you do compete, if you don't agree with what your judge is saying, escalate it to someone like Human Decoded or Believe. There's a joke that even though I never competed in the same building as them during competition, that they could hear me coming down the hall. It happens. MVO, this is an award that they hand out. It's one single award per competition. If you compete at DEFCON, this is what gets the Black Badge. But you have to be nominated by your judge. And it's something, it could be a low point value. It's an innovative technique that arrives at a conclusion more so than a face value. So let's talk about tools. How about that Maynard James Keenan, right? He's about to turn 60, and I believe he's about to get his purple belt or his brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Okay, anyway, all joking aside. What's your favorite OSINT tools for looking for people? What was that? Google. I agree. What else? You technically are correct. Maltego is an OSINT tool that allegedly can help you find people, but in the few times I've used both the free and the paid version of Maltego, I've gotten far too many data points to consider valuable. You put in a cryptocurrency address and like you get like 10,000 things back. It's like, I just wanted to know the transactions. It's too noisy, in my opinion. But some people thrive with it. I personally just don't. I heard something else back there. What was it? Social media, yes. Judy Records, yes. I actually recorded a YouTube video about that. Big fan of Judy Records. Love it. What else?
Tax records.
Tax records, yes. You know, I always heard this from old people. There's two things guaranteed in life. You're going to pay taxes and you're going to die. And guess what? They both create public records. Especially if you don't do the first one. That tends to create multiple types of public records that you can find on Judy Records or Pacer or Court Listener. What else? Voter records. That's going to be hit or miss. I will say that in some states, I've tried to find voter records and it's like, enter the last four of the social. It's like, well, I know the last four. I'm not about to put it in though. Because, again, I'm not a lawyer, but I would fear that that could be construed as violation of the CFAA. I wouldn't even test it. Or if you're going to test it, talk to a lawyer first. One that you're paying. What else?
CCTV footage.
Yep, if you can come across it. What else? In competition, that's inadmissible, but in the real world, yes. But more importantly, the comment sections from those. Because in competition, if it comes from law enforcement, media, or other missing person sites like Missing in America, the Charlie Project, or Web Sleuths, it's inadmissible, generally speaking. But, you know what is admissible on all of the above? The comments. You got to wade through all the people, thoughts and prayers are shared in insert city here, and people putting the high five emoji thinking it's the hands like this. Once you get past all of that, you could actually get some legit intel out of the comments. So you've got things like LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat. I mean, Parlay, it's gone right now. It'll be back, I'm sure. I mean, it's a company that every single employee is a software developer. How can it not come back? I mean, they had the most stellar code. That's why I wrote a 60-page report after I found their Bugzilla. Via DNS. I didn't even do anything sneaky. I literally dropped their domain and security trails. That's how I found it. Parlay, MeWe, Truth Social, Frank, Gab, all of that. Blue Sky, all the Mastodons. Can anyone name every single Mastodon server? I'll give you a coin if you can. Search engines. Who here has heard of Metager? Who here has heard of Gigablast? Kid Rex? Dogpile? Who here uses DuckDuckGo? Who here uses DuckDuckGo because they do things for your privacy? Who here uses Bing? Everybody that put their hand up for DuckDuckGo, put your hand back up. I don't have a big problem with DuckDuckGo, but I have a problem with DuckDuckGo. My problem with DuckDuckGo is their commercials. Number one, they're a company that's charging you nothing to give you search results, yet they have money to license a Sting of the Police song for a national commercial. They have money for billboards. How are they getting said money? Where are they based? Anyone know what state they're based in? And if you're of the tinfoil hat persuasion, the fact I said what state they're based in should probably... It is Pennsylvania. Yeah. So they're based in the U.S., which I'm not anti-American by any stretch of the imagination, but if I'm doing something that's privacy-based, I prefer it to be in Switzerland. Because unless the Swiss authorities ask for it, those companies are not required to give anything up. If the U.S. authorities ask for it, they are. And I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if it's Proton. I don't care if it's Molvat. I don't care if it's DuckDuckGo or Google. Everybody is keeping some sort of log about you, period. I mean, I love all of y'all. Everybody love everybody, right? If you remember Jackie Moon and Semi-Pro. Everybody love everybody. It's ELE in here. But if I stand up a platform and I allow you to use it, and it's either I go to jail or you go to jail for something you did, bye, Felicia. Sorry. I love y'all, but I don't love you that much. I'll do anything for $1, but I won't do that. It's just the way it is. Man, I dropped so many earworms. I was trying to get you all with the earworms, and I got myself. Whew. That's why you don't cross streams. Anyway, but to that end, DuckDuckGo, what they do is they repeat their search into Bing. And if you search for something that has an e-commerce element to it, they affix an affiliate tracking code and get paid off of that. Honestly, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with the fact of they are still collecting things about you. Their privacy policy is deliberately vague about what is personal information. They don't specifically define things. So honestly, if I have to pick between them and Google, I'm going with Google. Google doesn't hide their advertising machine. I mean, Google pays for commercials, but Google's commercials are more about telling you how great their products are, or how great they say they are, and not how bad everybody else is, right? I actually found a missing person, unfortunately not in competition again, because I found their username, and I found them on Cash App, and I'm like, woohoo, yeah, cool. There's no transactions. Put it in the username search engine. Ooh, here's an Instagram or a TikTok, something. They were bragging about smoking weed. Well, you know, people who smoke weed, what's their favorite numbers to attach to a username? 420. Put the same username back in, Cash App, bada bing, boom, 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 boom. It was shooting fish in a bucket. It's just like when I was in high school, all the people who thought they were hardcore, they had to have like a username with 666 in it. I mean, got to stay away from all those people in our industry that have that whole 1337 stuff. You know, everybody gets so wrapped around the axle about the 1337, they don't even, I mean, they can't even answer what happened to 1338. Yeah. So, yeah. But anyway, you've also got the internet at large, right? You've got your search engines. I'm not going to beat you over the head with search engines. What I will tell you with search engines is if you are searching for people, you're going to probably have better luck on Yandex. Yandex has a better facial recognition and classifying infrastructure than Google. Google oftentimes, unless you're dealing with a celebrity or something that went semi-viral, it's going to say man, woman, boy, girl. That's it. If you're looking for landscapes, Google oftentimes is probably the best, but not always. Any of them will work in that case. The only thing with reverse image search I would say stay away from is 10i. And that's because it doesn't really find anything except for it is good for logos. The internet at large, that's basically anything else. That could be someone's personal blog. That could be the comments on a news site. That could be anything. Anybody here use What's My Name? If you don't, you can use the web-based version at whatsmyname.app. There's a standalone version you can use as well, but there's a little bit of a hack you have to do because the Python-based checker is no longer on the active fork of GitHub. So you have to find the fork that it's in and wget that fork and unzip it and do a few things. It's not illegal or anything to do it. It's an unintended consequence. And then, of course, ReconNG. ReconNG can be fun. What's My Name is actually built into ReconNG as the profiler module. It uses the same JSON file. But what it boils down to is ReconNG honestly just doesn't work too well for people. Spiderfoot can work pretty okay for people, but it takes forever. And just like Maltego, it creates a lot of noise. Although you can move your mouse across the screen with Spiderfoot and it will not make alien noises at you like Maltego will. That's the thing I hate most about Maltego. If I'm listening to my music, I do not want Maltego yapping at me. So, okay, we got sources and methods. We've already touched on some of this. You've got the dating apps, you've got the public records, you've got the data breach dumps. What's some good data breach sites? Yes. Breachdirectory.org. Yep. You've also got things like Dehashed, intelx.io, Snoosebase. Here's the problem. Have I Been Pwned is free. The others are not. So in my day, I have encountered a lot of different websites that have came and gone. Leaked Source was a really good one. And then it got seized. So if you're going to subscribe to any of these sites, intelx, you're probably okay. The others, I would recommend probably not subscribing for more than a month or a quarter at a time. Because I say this often, if I did not have bad luck, I would have no luck at all. I guarantee you, if I paid the $180, which is really not that much in the grand scheme of things, when you look at how much Palantir costs, when you look at how much EchoSec costs, how much Twitter API costs, don't get me started on that. But my luck, I would spend the $180. I would get through about 4 queries and it would get seized. That's my luck. So I spend $15 a month. That's what I do with it. But that's a good place for it. I'm going to pose another question for you. Social media. So you have the whole SOCMINT acronym, right? If we want to play the whole acronym soup. Social media intelligence. Is SOCMINT purely subordinate to OSINT? Even if someone has a private Twitter, you could still create a SOC and work your way in. But the payment thing. So on the topic of paid things, has anyone here ever heard of the Firehose APIs? So the Twitter API I was complaining about was a user-based API. It's tied to a particular user account. If a user blocks the account tied to that API instance cannot see anything that user posts. Those run, what, $1,500 a month on the low side? Then you have the Firehose APIs. They are not tied to users. That's what organizations like Palantir, EchoSec, and a lot of the sentiment analysis organizations, that's what they are using. They are not tied to a user. They are looking at things in broad stroke. They are trying to find hashtag trends and stuff like that. Those are prohibitively expensive. You're talking upwards of $50,000 per month. So anyone has the ability to sign up for one. Not everyone has the funds to do it, so therefore I don't consider that to be open source. So you have that perspective, but there's another one as well. In the US, we have these pesky things called warrants, subpoenas, and national security letters. Sometimes they will find their way to PACER, Judy Records court listener in court proceedings, and sometimes they don't. When they do, then yes, that is the enrichment to OSINT. In some cases, you'll never hear about them, and therefore it is not open source. So they are, if you wanted to consider them a Venn diagram, they are the MasterCard logo. That's basically what it boils down to. So that's the end of section 1. We have about 20 slides to go. What do y'all think about, like, say, 5-minute break, just to stretch, whatever? All right, I will set the timer on my watch, and we'll get started in 4 minutes and 55 seconds. All right, let's talk some techniques here. So when we talk OSINT techniques, realistically, we are talking about more than snooping through social media. I will say, though, in all the times I've been involved with people investigations, the majority of my successes came from one of 2 things: social media and Google Dorks. Like using tools like this, G-Hunt, Halehe, What's My Name, Spiderfoot, Recon NG. Minimal return. Minimal. But it's more than just snooping through. You can fall down that rabbit hole, but you want to look for significant dates. You want to look for things of value as it relates to what you are trying to learn. For a missing person, you're not trying to learn everything. I mean, there's another CTF. I will mention it during my talk tomorrow morning. I'm not going to mention it in here. I will say it's an anti-trafficking CTF. You've got to have a little bit more of, I'll just say, hardened innards, so to speak, to take part in that, because you're going to see more gut-wrenching stuff and you're going to see more explicit stuff. You're going to be in search of explicit stuff. But in those events, it's easy to fall down the rabbit hole of, you do the search for the phone number or the handle or whatever, and then you just start going tat, 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 and it's like, I've got all these tabs open, but I don't have any intelligence. What's up with this? So that's ultimately what you want to try to work for. And like with the anti-trafficking perspective, hidden messages exist. Like, what are some examples of some, we'll say, PG-13 terminology associated with trafficking? What about the Pittsburgh Pirates or the Philadelphia Phillies? What does their baseball ball cap have on it? A P. What starts with P? It's what Jay-Z said he was doing. Pimping. The Milwaukee Brewers, because it's got an M, the baseball, and B. That is used for the acronym MOB, and I'm not getting into what that means. When you talk about gangs, you know, you see a lot of fellows walking around with nothing but red clothes on. All of a sudden, you're looking at CCTV footage and they encounter someone wearing all blue. And they beat the crap out of him. What's that indicative of? Yep. I mean, part of the resources in the zip file I gave you deal with like identifying gangs, right? Like that, things like the Aryan Nation, MS-13, various cartels, the Crips, the Bloods, the Latin Kings, all of those. When you deal with that, there are a lot of hidden messages that unless you think about it or you're in the know, you will not, like an average person will just go right past it. During the anti-trafficking CTF that I took part in last, I actually found one of, they don't call them pimps, they call them persons of interest. I found one of them because he the leader of the stable. So the victim that is in charge of all the other victims, they call the bottom. Be aware of the hidden messages. We won't get too deep into that. With weather, I'm going to walk you through this just in the interest of time. Extreme weather, if it's really cold or really hot, that can speak to someone's actions. That's something to be aware of. Extreme weather, just like the tornado. So you can go to like AccuWeather and you can actually tamper with the URL, change the month, and then you'll see in there, it'll say like 2023 October. You can change that to 2015 or whatever. You can do that, tamper with that, and look at the days around the event that you are looking for. And here's that hypothetical scenario. So Jane Doe went missing from Dennis Acres. Right there is the average weather. That's as average as the day is long. But then you do the Google search for weather on that date. That's what you have. I was going to actually do some demo stuff with you, but if you're interested in stuff, here are some organizations you can take part in. Safe Escape, they seek to help domestic violence victims get out and stay out. I have a volunteer advisory role with them. TraceLabs, we've talked about them. ATII, they run dark webathons. They primarily focus on dark web and cryptocurrency. And Polaris runs the national trafficking hotlines. If you're interested in some more of my shenanigans, including YouTube videos, streams, podcasts, etc., you can find it all of those links here. OSINT.mobi is my bit.ly redirect domain, so it is actually safe. As a practice for social engineering, I never send malicious things under my real name. So if I'm authentically saying it's real, like, you're good. I'm not going to trick you. If you're interested in on-demand courses, the link is there as well, academy.theosintion.com. Here's my anti-siphon schedule starting in January. So OPSEC, if that's your thing, January 29th will be your date. Report writing is on February 16th. The 8-hour version of this on February 26th. Crypto on March 8th. Image intelligence on the 25th. Recon NG on April 12th. And business on May 6th. Besides that, in the interest of time, here are links to all of my socials. Thanks, everyone.